You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
All right, welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, every Monday night live right here on 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. If you listen to me on, or if you listen to the show here on streaming, then you're on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you like to stream. And of course, then we post-produce the show a few days and delay until we're up live on our YouTube page. Like us, subscribe us there. ContractorTalkPodcast.com is another way to find all of the ways that you can stream and listen to the show right here. And it's funny, Hans and I usually talk about how funny it is when we talk to younger folks and we say, yes, we're live on the radio. And they're like, what does that mean? What's the radio? You know, it's like, you know, that little dial thing that you have on in your car when you're driving around. You're not listening to your streaming, your Spotify or whichever it is, and then you have an FM dial there, excuse me, and an AM dial there. Believe it or not, I think you can even hear us a little bit better, a little bit louder on 950 on the AM side, as the FM seems a little bit like as you drive further outside of the listening area, it starts to get crackling a little bit, but. Interesting ways to listen, to consume our this radio show right here. So all types of folks get to listen to our banter, as we like to say, and we talk about what's going on in our industry as contractors. And we're sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida. It's raflorida.org is how you find us, raflorida.org. And the association was founded in 2014 when I first got into the industry just a year or two before that, and as a mold assessment, just as a licensed mold assessor, and doing that under I had two different departments in my pest control. I would call it my previous life, my previous service company that I had. So I had some experience in operating a pest control company that provided service in the state of Florida. And I was also providing mold assessments under that same company before legislation turned in Florida in 2012 that made it law to where if there was more than 10 square feet of mold in the home or business, then you would have to have a licensed mold assessor come take detailed samples, an evaluation of the property to give what they call a protocol, and a separate restoration would occur. And so that really, for me, turned on a light bulb and got me into an industry that was not only something that should be done, it should be tested by a professional, but then now in 2012 and further on, it was a regulatory or mandatory rather, over 10 square feet. So able to help a lot more people, really inform a lot more folks on their health and well-being inside of their property as it relates to water damage, mold. And now we've opened up many different services under air quality assessors to include asbestos testing and surveys, even new silica dust that's you might have heard of. Disney tests every single one of their wall boards for silica dust in the drywall. So there are other things like volatile organic compounds, gaseous type of odors that you would want to have assistance with. That's where my background came from. And then also became a licensed engineering firm about 2017. And at that point, really helping homeowners throughout the state of Florida in different ways. Now more of in a causation way, as our forensic engineering side would determine what was damaged from the storm, which is very helpful in insurance-related claims. So this has been a little bit of a niche market for myself since I got into it in about 2014, and then created this association, and really was a real need for the folks in this industry to get together, to collaborate, and to talk about what industry standards are, and really align. In Tallahassee, when I first got involved, and it was crazy to hear what the legislators were hearing, and they were only hearing it from one side, and that was from the insurance company saying, oh, all these guys are coming in and causing all this chaos, and it's making all of our premiums go crazy. And they kept saying this in year after year, and trying to make this big effort to change the laws. It's funny how legislators always have a solution for a problem that does not exist. And so what they do is they go and then identify that, have the solution, create the problem. That just everything planets aligned in 2019 where they created statutes around assignment of benefits. But after that, where you had the head of Office of Insurance Regulation, David Altmaier, then be as corrupt as we've seen him be, which was allowing for every single insurance company to just, I think it was a 2020 to 2022, just start increasing their premiums like crazy. I mean, it was like Oprah was up there going, you get a raise, you get a raise, you get a raise. I meto folks weren't even asking for crazy raises. If they did, it was 10%, something under 15%, which the law says if you get more than 15%, you have to hold a public hearing and to test why you need more than 15%. Well, for some reason, they just pulled that off and they allowed everybody to get a 50, 70, 80, 100% increase, really for no reason. But the reason is to create that problem in which they had a solution already. So that started in January, and it was January of 2022. And by the end of that same year, we had 3 different special sessions that the governor put on, all surrounding property insurance and insurance in general and attorney's fees and such like that. Also, they can more and more erode the rights for consumers in the state of Florida against the insurance companies, which the lobby was strong, but they're crying crisis in that same year, saying, oh, we're so broke and everything like that, right before the papers came out to show that all these insurance companies were overpaying their fake subsidiaries to the tunes of not millions, but billions of dollars to show that they were either at a loss or within their 5% profit range in order for them to get increases. And then to show the world that, oh, look at all this craziness that's going on in Florida. Property insurance rates are through the roof. And the reason why is because so they can have this solution that they can take to the voters, the constituents in the state of Florida and say, listen, here's the solution. We're going to just basically cut everything out that we thought was expensive, including attorney's fees, all this quote unquote litigation that was going on against the insurance companies that were outright the given right for the insured to do so as that's our only recourse. We don't get paid by our insurance company. The recourse is to do further collections and to get a lawyer involved.
Did you say that insurance rates are out of control?
I did say insurance rates are out of control.
Man, you know who disagrees with you?
Who's that?
Governor DeSantis.
Isn't that what he's got showing right now in the news? Right, is all about even a podium that I saw him stand behind. I think yesterday or today said lower insurance rates. And I'm like, where? like who? And we haven't seen any lowered premium rates. And as I was saying, in 2022, when they just gave everybody this crazy amount of increases, we still haven't seen any decreases to stabilize those crazy increases that never were accounted for. I mean, and then to find out a year later that finally we get all of the paperwork to show, the documents to show that these insurance companies were overpaying their subsidiaries by the tunes of billions and billions of dollars. And still nobody's making a big stink of it. Nobody's suing the insurance companies for all this and saying, hey, you can't have these subsidiaries, you can't do this. I mean, literally they have companies that oversee their benefits,
toilet paper dispensers,
administrative stuff, and even some of them that I know of were having separate tree companies, separate other type of service-based companies that would have an invoice on every single claim out of nowhere, and they would instruct their adjusters to pay those claims in full. And they're like, well, this is like $25,000 for a limb on a tree. They're like, yeah, pay it. And so we're seeing all this proof that comes out, and still we don't have bloody murder being screamed at the top of our lungs. We don't have pitchforks up in Tallahassee, but yet we still see that there are more and more bills filed in the state of Florida that are set to quote unquote reform the insurance industry. And I'm like, how much more reform can we put on it? And so we're already still seeing that more than 15 carriers denied more than 50% of all insurance claims just last year, Hurricane Milton and Helene. So what do you think's going to happen? What does Dr. Phil say? The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally I said that right. But isn't that the truth, right? I mean, what do you think's going to happen if we continue to quote unquote reform or take away the rights that consumers have to collect what is rightfully theirs?
Well, I mean, I think we saw the press release that's being discussed by Governor DeSantis is that in the spring of 2026, on average, those who have Citizens insurance will see their premiums drop on average 8.7% is what they claim for the spring of 2026.
Wow.
Now, keep in mind, most of our homeowners premiums have doubled or tripled in the last few years. So, I'm never one to say 8.7 isn't money, but if your premium has tripled over the last 3 years, 8% just isn't that much.
Right. And
it just isn't.
That's not. And again, we're going back several years. And what happened between 2022 and now that they had to double these rates, and now we're still seeing slow climb ups when we're not seeing these reductions to really take back and claw back what they shouldn't have been charging us. You would think that when the papers came out and showed all this disgusting overspending to all these subsidiaries, that we would see these fines and penalties and insurance companies have to give these rate backs and such like that. But it just got quiet. Well, I don't understand.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, in the Citizens realm, when they say people have stopped suing Citizens, you know what? I have to admit, the governor is correct. Lawyers have stopped suing Citizens because Citizens put into place through the former Chief Justice of the Florida Supreme Court this Division of Administrative Hearings,
right?
DOA, these DOA hearings to these administrative law judges who are not appointed or elected. Who are not elected but appointed by the governor. So you saw that drop off because it's unconstitutional. I suggest to you, you can do a lot in a position of leadership if you do things that are unconstitutional.
Right.
I mean that's great. If you say you can't have access to courts, you can't have a trial by jury of your peers. However, you can go in front of a judge that I put in place who doesn't have to run for re-election. So you want to do that, you feel free. I'm empowering you to go in front of these people and see how you do, which we know was essentially 99-1 was the last score that I saw. So the idea that we should all be cheering for the fact that no one's suing Citizens, it's because you can't win. It's a rigged game if you go sue Citizens in an unconstitutional procedure that 2 judges so far have said is unconstitutional.
Right. I mean, and with as many policies that Citizens carries, last year this time, I would be quoting somewhere around 1.3 to 1.4 million policies out of 6.5 million HO3 policies, which are the standard residential policies, and it doesn't count the condos, apartments, and all those other situations. Just single family residents that have a mortgage on them. About 6.5 million policies. They own about a fifth of them. Now, they've shed a good amount of them. I think they're down to about 700,000 policies by doing what they call takeout policy, by selling off groups of policies.
Wait. As of January 2025, Citizens policies in force, this says declined to 395,000.
No way.
So I had to stop and go back because this is from the governor's office. As of January 2025, Citizens policies in force declined to 395,000, representing a 50% reduction from the prior year, lowest level in 14 years. Transition back to private market. So,
wow.
So there's only 400,000 policies left, but they're giving those people who are left a discount. So when it's 1.4 million, no discounts, no nothing. They can't do nothing about it. Now at 400,000, you can give people a discount because they're going back to private markets.
Jeez.
They did say that folks with Security First and Florida Peninsula, and I don't know how they calculate this, 8.2% reduction for Florida Penn and 8% for Security First. There's some auto numbers there also. 5% for Universal is what they say. But it's just interesting that, again, the idea that this is a cause for celebration is the reality is insurers, as we've discussed, can only make so much money. By statute, they can only make about 5% profit. So if they're not paying claims and bringing in money, last time I checked, not paying claims and bringing in too much money meant you have too much profit.
That's exactly what that means.
So you have to cut prices to avoid being in violation of a statute that limits your actual profit. So this isn't like some voluntary largesse. They feel bad, let's give money back. To some extent, they have to give money back and charge less because they're making too much money.
That is. And they're still the lowest carrier out there. And that's only because right before these sweeping, crazy policy increases, they got hit with a law, I believe it was 2020 or 2021, that put in effect that they were only allowed to increase up to 15% over the next 5 years. So 10% and then 11, 12, 13, 14. And so that kind of stuck them to these price gouging like the rest of them were. But there are alternatives. And I've said that many times to my restoration folks, and I every month I put on several of these either lunch and learns or some sorts of education seminars where I talk to contractors, public adjusters, and attorneys and such, and we talk about how we help the insured bring it home. And every situation is different, but in many situations, most of the situations, a public adjuster is necessary to help inform the insured of what their rights are, what their coverages could be, help them with their estimates, which a lot of times are very, very low if they do it themselves. And the part that if they do have a citizen's file and they don't come to an agreement, there are other ways to do it, such as appraisal or mediation. And I think our guest here on the show tonight has many experiences on all sides. His name is Chris with AdjusterPro. What's going on, man?
Hi, how you doing?
Doing excellent, man. Excellent, man. We were talking before the show. You said you tuned in. You saw what we talk about, and we talk a lot about what or a lot of different topics that you love to talk about. It's in this world of like helping folks out, and I love stories that Hans puts out about some of the crazy clients or crazy situations that have happened to his clients, and being maybe undercovered or underinsured rather. Like maybe an airplane falling out of the sky and hitting your detached garage, thinking that, hey, what are the chances? What are the odds that I have to increase this, the coverage on my back? Like, it's behind the house. It's like, it's totally out of the way of everything. What are the chances? And when that actually happens, being able to jump in and assist. And that was just a funny story, Hans. I mean, it's nothing more you can do.
That's a great one. And if you think about it, once a plane hits your shed, you probably don't need to buy insurance again because the odds of it happening a second time are much higher than even happening a first time. So you can go bare on your shed at this point and not worry about it because the odds of an airplane hitting it are astronomical at that point.
I bet. And so Chris, the clients that you normally have when they come to you, they're asking you about all types of things under the policy, like what do I have coverage for? This happened in this situation. Could this be covered under my policy? Are those many of the questions that you get on the daily?
Yeah, those are the type of questions that I get after some preemptive questions for me. Most of the time when I'm talking to my clients, it's usually a hat in hand situation or a tail tucked between their legs because they've already been told this is the way that it goes. And I sometimes have to, talk to them and be like, this is their perspective based off of the policy language. Now that we can't go backwards in time and get you coverage for anything that you don't have coverage or increase your limitations, but this is the way that I interpret this policy language. And maybe I do have some kind of bias because my interpretation always leans in favor of the policy holder, which I feel is probably the best way of going about it, even to the point when you're writing that policy for these homeowners.
Sure. And many people don't have an understanding of what is covered. They can read the policy and say, okay, I see a coverage limit, coverage A. I see additional coverage, maybe limitations. In Florida, we have a lot of mold caps and such, either 10,000 or 50,000, 25,000, somewhere in between, or no mold coverage and different exclusions and limitations. So it's getting more and more difficult to understand your HO3 policy, which would be your standard quote unquote full coverage policy, right? When you think, okay, yeah, I bought a house, I have to get insurance, I have to get full coverage. All right, this is what I'm getting. Boom. And they give you an annual price and you pay that through your escrow. and Hans and I talk about this all the time. You have to make sure that your insurance company doesn't auto renew you at a much higher price without you knowing about it. Because then a few months later, you get a letter from your escrow account saying, "Hey, we're running low. Now your payments changed, or you have to put in a bunch of money, and you didn't realize." Premiums are renewed annually, and sometimes they stick in clauses, limitations, other things that would limit what you have coverage-wise. So I always say, if you don't know what's in your policy, you can talk to two people, a public adjuster or an attorney. And so and Chris, when we talk about what happens when we get to the end of the rope when we're with, like, say, Citizens, because of the DOA situation, and if you were to try to file suit against Citizens, you now then get a step sidetrack to what they call this DOA, or Department of Administrative Hearings, which it's not in front of a jury. It's a very shortened court proceeding with a judge that doesn't do property at all. So it's all been in the favor of Citizens. So people are avoiding that. I've always said, and would hope that there would be appraisal in the policy. There'd be a chance for mediation. Do you see yourself taking clients to appraisal and mediation?
I rely heavily on the appraisal process.
Yeah.
Mediation has its place, but I tend to try to avoid that as much as possible.
On the appraisal side or mediation?
Mediation.
Yeah.
It's not binding.
Right.
So, you can wait so long to get these dates, and then you're there, and it could go in your favor. And then you walk out, and then it just doesn't go that way, and it just feels like you're spinning your wheels for some time to get to the same place.
And do you find yourself having better luck in the appraisal side of things?
Yes. But also that also has its place as well, because some policies don't allow for appraisal, or you need to hit 1, 2, 3 points, then you can call in for an appraisal, and they can still reject it for some kind of small print that was on page 39 in the little bubble right next to where it said you can't do it, and then all of a sudden you can't do it, and then and all of a sudden you're like back to square one.
And to continue to follow those dots, and understand the policy, then I guess that's mostly what you do on a day-to-day basis. What would be I'd say your most common loss that somebody comes to you about?
A water loss.
Water loss. Does that be like a hot water tank bust, or a shower pan, or more wind-related water loss?
Well, that's the bigger umbrella, So when I say water loss, it can be from the windstorm. But the windstorm itself, it's that precursor to the damage on your roof, which allows that water to intrude. And the way that policy language is now, you need that storm-created opening in order to trigger coverage. And so you kind of try to follow that rabbit hole, but
right.
The one that's the real big one is when a pipe bursts and you only have $10,000 to fix your kitchen.
Oof. That's tough.
That's the big one, and nowadays $10,000 doesn't go as far as it used to.
Right, it really doesn't. And so, is that do you offer a free policy review for an insured?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And how would they get a hold of you?
My direct line would be 631-506-5596. That's my cell phone. There I do have an office number too, and they could always call there. But best way to get in contact with me: call me, leave me a message, send me a text message. I will get back to you.
Awesome. And what's your website?
It's just going to be www.AdjusterProClaims.com.
AdjusterProClaims.com. I love that.
O or an S? S?
Yes, with an S. Plural, not singular. The singular would be the place that you can go when you want to get your adjuster's license. It's actually a really good school that you'll be able to go to, and they kind of hold your hand while you're going through that process.
Okay. All right. Love that. And you work anywhere in the state of Florida as far as reviewing claims and damages, and the biggest part is submitting the estimate on behalf of the insured. That's the hardest part of this whole thing. Well, outside of pushing the claim all the way forward to success. Awesome. Well, thanks, Chris. Hang around for the break. We have Chris with Adjuster Pros here, and Hans. always glad to see you.
And always a pleasure.
Oh, wait, it is. And after the break, we'll go back to your full outfit here that you will never see any given time here on our show here. We're going to take a break, give some thanks to our sponsors. We'll be right back. All right. We're back live. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell every Monday night right here, 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. A few days later, we're on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere you like to stream, and, of course, on YouTube. In case you'd like to check out Hans' Dapper Suit of the Week, there it is. I cued it right before the last break, but there it is. At no given time where you see the same outfit on Hans Kennon, his wardrobe in his closet is deep, and so I dare you to check in every single show and make the comparison. So we're going to jump right in. We have a special guest for you tonight, like we do always, Chris with AdjusterPros, and he's a public adjuster that is one of the two types of industry professionals that can assist a homeowner in their time of need in a property insurance claim. And so there has been a lot of just focus on it in the last several years, as restoration contractors have been in the hot seat, pointed out as the boogeyman that created all of the reasons why, the extra expense of the reasons why the insurance companies raise premiums every single year. And then in 2020, it took a swoop over to attorneys. Hans Kennon was the reason why, and then roofers were the reasons why. Well,
not me exactly.
They said you're an attorney. They said attorneys.
Okay, I'm just checking. My name wasn't on the bill or anything.
I don't know. They were pointing their finger at you.
HK. They said it only said HK. All I said was HK.
Hell's Kitchen.
Heckler and Koch.
Okay, there it is. Is that Koch? Anyways, but they're always going after what it seems to be the service providers. The attorneys, which they did in 2022, 2023, is they took away the prevailing party attorney's fees for homeowners. They were calling it one-way attorney's fees, and it's really it's been around since like 1893, where the Florida legislature said in a Supreme Court ruling said if the insurance company is wrong and they have billions and billions of dollars behind them, well, then they should pay for that wrongness. They should pay for the attorney's fees and cost of that insured. I mean, look at a $10,000 claim. For a lot of people that are on a fixed budget in a smaller home, that's a lot of money, and it's a lot of money for me right now, especially. And so with the market the way it is, now you have to pay your own attorney's fees, your own experts, your own cost. I mean, how are you going to be able to do that as an insured? Chris and I were talking before the break. I was like, man, no attorney. I mean, when the laws changed and they took away attorney's fees, I was hearing attorneys saying, we won't take anything under $50,000, anything under $100,000, because they won't make enough for how much they have to fight against the insurance companies, because they know if they drag it on, the worst thing that they have to pay, the worst amount that they have to pay, worst case scenario for them, is what they should have paid in the beginning. And we're talking 1, 2, 3 years later, there's no penalties, there's nothing accruing, nothing like that. They just, okay, you want to settle? Here's a global figure below your threshold of pain, and you're like, and in many cases, the homeowner takes it and say, I want to be done with this mess.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, too, that most people's claims are not $50,000 or $100,000. I mean, they're just not. A typical roof claim is more like 20, 25, maybe 30. Some interior damage with some other leaking, still in that same range. So if lawyers are going to, and it's their prerogative, and we've not, a Kennon Law Group, we try to take everybody, we take all comers as best we can. And we take into mediation, we put them in suit as need be. But if you're only going to help people who have a $100,000 loss, it's really not that hard. I mean, if you're like, I'm going to take cases that are worth $100,000 or more, well, you should probably going to have a lot of free time waiting for that phone to ring. Again, we look at ourselves as a bit of a singles hitter place, our firm, because we take everybody on, we bring them around, we get them money, we get them a good down payment, get them halfway there, get them everything. Whatever it may be, we're happy to try to help get them there. So lawyers who say, I only want the biggest and best cases, they're not really serving the market or serving the people as they were. Mm-hmm. And folks are willing to take on the smaller claims like we are. We really do find that people really appreciate it because they don't know where to go. Whether you have a big claim or a small claim, they don't know what to do.
Right.
People with bigger claims tend to have bigger houses and more money and be a little more sophisticated potentially. But a lot of folks come to us who really don't understand what's going on. And so I don't know, and I'm going to put Chris on a hot seat for that. But we try to help folks no matter where they stand, not just if they're standing in the deepest hole possible.
Right. No, that's good. And because the continual erosion of consumer rights here in Florida, it makes it more difficult for an insured to understand what they have in their policy, what they don't have, what they're limited to, what does a 1% matching mean. All of these things now come up as questions, and it's hard for an insured to understand that, or consumer to understand. So whether it be before a loss or a major hurricane to understand their policy, or it's post-loss where you want to understand what's the value of your claim, it's a public adjuster or an attorney firm. And sometimes it's both. The attorney sometimes uses the public adjuster to evaluate all the content, the loss, and such like that. So they put a number evaluation on the claim damages. So understanding the policy in and out is very, very important. Hence the need of public adjusters out in the field to help insureds right at the time of need. The public adjuster bill that looked like it was sponsored seems like it's coming up in the
current bill for PAs.
Yes, it is Senate Bill 266. Provides that an insured person is a vulnerable adult or who lacks capacity to. Oh, hold on. Provides consent. The terms are. So it's further on. This is seemingly a bill that what they say fixes a few things. And I was talking to Chris before, and I was like, I mean, it seems like this stuff is like already existed beforehand. They're like, but they're cutting out some of the things, like they're making it more specific to property. They're cutting out healthcare, licensed health insurance agent, person who files healthcare claims on behalf of another.
It's what they call a glitch bill.
Right. It's seemingly so. But it further on talks about it, like the public adjuster can't accept any money or anything like that prior to signing their LOR with the insured. I'm like, duh.
Now, one thing real quick, I got to jump. If I don't talk about this for a minute, I'm going to explode on this newsroom thing, because session is in and the legislators are in. The insurance commissioner talks about everything's positive. It's all positive. And he says, I am hopeful that these reforms will not be repealed, that we continue to be dogged in our efforts to improve the everyday conditions for Floridians. So obviously the governor's office has some concern about something getting repealed. That's important. The CFO says the reforms are working and Florida homeowners are seeing the benefits. Well, they're not seeing anything right now. They might see something September of 20, so spring of 26. No other state and no other governor is doing more to deliver on his promises and tackle housing affordability than Governor DeSantis. Florida continues to lead the nation on all fronts. First, he uses the word affordability, which is the new catchphrase for everything these days, Republican and Democrat. Now, what I think, again, was amusing, saying he may tackle housing affordability. He and his office for the last 6.5 years have allowed the rates to go up.
Right.
All he had to do was tell the guy before this insurance commissioner, hey, stop giving out rate increases. What are you doing? That's it. That's a phone call. Hello? Hi, it's the governor. Stop giving out rate increases without public hearings. Hey, how about just stop giving out rate increases at all?
How about that? Right, good idea.
So now the governor is attacking affordability. He's fixing the problem that he caused.
Right.
How does that make you? How's that success? I don't know. Last time I checked, that's not how it works.
It's crazy, and we saw it in the paper, and you can look it up now. $100 million from the insurance lobby to Governor DeSantis to run for president, and then we had like 3 special sessions and a main session in 2023 that just gutted out any provision that the homeowner had to be able to go after the insurance companies.
Which even President Trump said was a bad bill. I'm going to give away to the insurance. Even Trump said, the super Republican said, you're giving away the market. You're giving away the insurance, giving away everyone's rights.
Yep. And then he creates that problem by getting bought out. And then now we have to look at him like he's some freaking hero because now he's like, we're going to stabilize the market. Well, yeah, I don't think it could get any worse. But now, like I was telling Chris and right before the show, they want to continue to limit what public adjusters can have pay-wise. I mean, it still has a 10%, has a 20%, and it says 1% of the amount of insurance claim payments or settlements paid to the insured by the insurer for any coverage part of the policy where the claim payment or agreement to pay is equal or is greater than the claim policy limit for that part of the policy if the payment is written. So does this say that if you hit policy limits, you're limited to 1%? Is that what that says?
I don't know.
Anyway,
That's a word salad, Bill, right there.
It is. It's a lot of words on this, but apparently you're not allowed to give a monetary loan or an advance to the claim prospective client. I didn't know that was happening. It's a great idea. Like, hey, you're about ready to get 20,000. I'll give you 10 right now, and I'll just when the 20 comes, I'll keep it. How about that? Huh? Bada boom, bada bang. You ever do that, Chris?
Make an offer you can't refuse.
Right. We would call that a Shylock.
Well, this Senate bill is kicking off in the Florida legislature. In the Senate, it is in the Banking Insurance Committee today, by the way, and that's Senate Bill 266. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's just more and more consumer rights and privileges and help even that they have out there to assist them in their claims is just continue to be more eroded. I mean, if they continue to pin or to lower what percentages public adjusters could charge, at some point they're going to say, listen, or so much red tape. I mean, they added more amendments to what you'd have to put in your contract, cancellation clauses, all this other stuff. It's going to be so difficult to do business in the state of Florida that many folks will just throw their hands up and say, I'll go somewhere else. Let's go to Alabama, for crying out loud. I don't know what happens there, but anyways. But Chris, going back to, I see your shirt, you see water, fire, wind. Have fires been like in and out of need and claim assistance? I see a little bit mixed out there that usually insurers are pretty good at paying out fire claims, and then I hear that they're horrible and it definitely need the use of a public adjuster.
Same way you wouldn't go get your hair cut by yourself. We don't want to put the bowl on top of your head anymore and try to use those buzzers. I would think any one of those claims you would need some representation, someone that could guide you, that's on your side 100%. And with the way that that we get paid in our industry, it allows you to know that if I can't do anything for you, you don't have to pay me. So it kind of gives you that sigh of relief.
No recovery, no fee.
Yes,
and you'll work for them and even put in a full estimate. Hans brought it up before. He had a client. It's like, oh, no, I've got everything. And it's like their whole house burned down. And they're like, well, I don't see silverware on your list. Did you not have silverware? Oh, yeah, I do. And it's like, they had like 2 pairs of shoes. All you've had is 2 pairs of shoes? Oh, now I have a whole closet full. It's like, okay. So there is rightful assistance that's needed, and most people don't understand their claims. So, we're going to take a break with Chris, and we'll be right back. Give some thanks to our sponsors. All right. We're back live for our final segment here, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. If you're listening to us on Spotify or iTunes, then sorry that I have to reinvent myself here, but we're on live radio. We take some breaks here, and we bring you the latest news, especially now within our Florida legislature. We have several different bills that have been sponsored that may or may not make the distance. And you would think that with things being the way they are and the articles out in the paper, it says how bad that insurance market has been, not only for the market and how much it is to even have a policy of insurance in this today in Florida, but how the insurance company reacts when you file a claim. To the tune of 15 major insurance companies, Citizens being the tallest, at 77% declination rate of every claim that's been filed from the last 2 storms after the sweeping law changes in 2023. So what are the effects of those law changes? Well, we saw that they're even more greedy than we thought that they were beforehand. I mean, we're talking about companies like People's Distrust, American Disintegrity, Snake Farm, All Snake. All of these folks were denying more than 50% of every single claim filed on those last 2 storms. Why? Because they don't have bad faith laws. They don't have any penalties, fees. They don't have attorney's fees that would be compounding when they're slow walking or wrongfully denying a homeowner's claim. And so the insurance company, their executives look at each other and they say, how can we make more money? Easy. Deny more claims. And it literally is like that, to where they're not only overpaying their subsidiaries, they're denying more and more claims. They know that you're not going to do much about it. Believe it or not, less than 20%. I think it's somewhere around the 10% of folks that get denied or underpaid actually do something about it. That's a staggering low number and a chilling effect that the insurance lobby did here in the state of Florida and actually worked. It made people think, oh my God, I don't want to file a claim or else I'm going to get dropped. I'll get non-renewed. This is, and this is crazy. And it's like, wow. I mean, if you were to get sideswiped in traffic and your damages supersede your deductible, you file a claim. Most everybody says, yes, of course. Right. And then, but when they have wind hit their home and they have a claim and they have damages inside, people are like, oh, well, I don't want to piss off my insurance company. I don't want them to non-renew me. Well, that's the wrong attitude to have. That's why you have insurance, right? You should not be scared of your insurer. You should not be scared to do the right thing. If you have a perfectly valid claim, there's no reason why you should not be filing it. So anyways, let me step off the high horse there for a second. But in this world of today's just loopholes and such and more and more regulation around how we get paid for our insurance claim, it's important to know that you have people on your side. You have attorneys, you have public adjusters. Most people get scared of the attorney word. They're like, if they answer the phone, are they charging me a bunch? If I'm like, hey, just following up my claim, don't hit me with a big bill, then it may be the best way for you to do this then is to call a public adjuster. They don't get paid unless you do. If you've already filed your insurance claim and you filed on Hurricane Milton or Helene, well, even though you don't have time left to file first notice of claim, you have time to still get a public adjuster involved. You have until April 9th to be able to file any what they call supplements, meaning if you're not satisfied with your claim value and you didn't sign a full release, you still have time. And so you may have some questions. And if you do so, Chris is a public adjuster with AdjusterPros. And Chris, how do we get a hold of you, man?
You could call me on my direct line. This is going to be 631-506-5596. Yeah, get a hold. If I don't answer, you could always text.
Why don't you tell the listeners, what do you do?
What is a public adjuster?
That is actually the question that I get the most. So I'm a claims advocate. I will help hold the hand of the policy holder and help them by listening to their story, what happened, and patiently wait for them to say what they need to say. Sometimes they'll say certain things that'll help you, and you take a little bit of notes here and there, and then you just cross-reference that with their policy and cross-reference that with what's visible and that what you can document at the home. I think those are key elements to being able to help. Listen, look at the damages, and cross-reference it with the black and white of the policy.
Right. And with that, when that documentation and you're listening to them, you're formulating then the data discovery, the potential date of loss based off of that information, that interview, the damages, what you see, approximately how long it was, and those types of things. And so with that, it's a skill that a lot of people don't have, that you need to have as a public adjuster to ensure that the claim ride is smooth, right? I mean, most people don't understand that there are differences of date of discovery and date of loss. Most people don't look up, believe it or not. They walk in through their house all the time, and they'll have a storm or an event, and it'd be like, wow, I just noticed that yellow stain. It was like several months after a storm, and you're like, well, how long has it been there? You're like, you know what? I don't know. I don't really look at my ceiling, and then just today I just happened to be looking up and there it is, right? And it's rare that happens. And so when it does, you need to have approximate date of loss that's going to make sense. Data discovery sometimes does not line up with your date of loss. We're going to say something, Hans? I know you're leaning in.
No. I was just
going to add your wisdom.
Just pulling back in there. I was waiting for Chris to tell me more about what he does, because he gave us a very good technical description of listening and putting together the.
It's a Dr. Phil of property claims.
more about that. But when the client's going to call you, why do they call you? What do they want from you?
They want help.
Yeah, okay.
They're usually, by the time I get that call, they've already gone into it by themselves. So what people need to understand is that the moment you dial that number and they pick up, it's on record. These are not your friends. These are people doing a job. They're there to take notes, and you misspeaking, it's on. At that point, you could say something right then and there that you get denied for down the road just because you're thinking out loud. I'm the guy that you can think out loud to because I'm going to, take this information. All right, well, you said this, and these are kind of conflicting here. So we need to hone in on that a little bit more because a lot of the times people are distraught. And you're in this position where like, oh my God, I need to spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on a roof. Where's that going to come from? All right, so they're looking to the people that they're that they're supposed to, which is their insurance provider, and then they're also calling their agent up and they're like, hey, do I have coverage for this? Well, I can't answer that coverage. Well, you're the one that sold me that policy. Yeah, they did sell you that policy, and they were all nice and fine and dandy until that you signed it on that line. But did they come to your home? Are they selling you policy for limitations or like $10,000 for a water loss that we had mentioned earlier? Can $10,000 take care of the largest room or the most expensive room that has water flow to it? Did they come to your home? Did they? Do you have detached garage limitations when you have a attached garage? You have no shed on the property, and you have all this, or little things like that. That you can talk to them about it, but without that home visit. And explaining to somebody, hey, look, this is your coverage amount, and these are the things, then you can honestly make a decision for yourself. This is how much risk I'm willing to take. This is how much I'm willing to take it for my home. But if they don't line up what you're saying, what you have, and what you're gonna buy, you're not in a good position.
Right. So you're able to determine that for the homeowner after the questions and determination of what is valid under their policy is to just lay it out on the table for the homeowner and just say, okay, based on all of this information, inspection of the home, the damages, what you have in your policy, your account of the loss, data discovery, data loss, all of this stuff comes into play. And you provide the estimate. Yes. As well. So we talked about the laws and how strict they were and how they become over the years. But one of them is the timetables. It's like, you have to submit it within so many days of signature. They only have so many days to cancel. And then there are certain times where you have to, certain guidelines where you have to turn in a written estimate within 30 days, a proof of loss within 60 days. And that's one thing that the homeowner doesn't understand. If you're a homeowner and you're already saying, what is a proof of loss? Well, you will need the use of a public adjuster. You will need to contact a public adjuster and say, listen, I know I have $20,000 with a roof damage because my roofer just gave me the estimate. But if you're looking at yellow stained ceiling, well, it's going to be more than $20,000, right? I mean, you have insulation above that, you have drywall, you have texture, you have paint to replace. Probability of that water flowing somewhere else outside of the wall. Is it still in the attic? Did it drip down? Is it on the floor? Is it in the walls? Those questions need answering before you turn in what they call a proof of loss, because that's what gets submitted to your insurance company within 60 days and say, these is my sworn, this is the damage that I swear by and attest to at this given moment, and you turn it in, right?
Well, I was just going to say, why should someone hire you, and what do you do specifically for them, taking out the technicalities?
Yeah, without all the technicalities in there, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to see what the damage is. I'm going to document it. I personally write my estimates. Not every public adjuster does, but I was trained by the insurance company. I spent about a better part of a decade working for them as an IA.
That's okay. We didn't know that.
Yeah. That was about 10 years, and I am definitely no person to stand on a moral soapbox, but that long calling little old ladies, telling them that we're not going to pay them, I decided to switch sides.
Oh, okay. Well, that goes. We didn't know that about you, so that goes a long way.
Yeah. So I'll come in. I know exactly for the thousands of denial letters that I've personally written, I know what they're going to say. I can read those denial letters before they even get to your house. So I'm taking the documentation, I'm taking your story, I'm providing you that estimate, I'm submitting that documentation in there. I take the emotional aspect out of it, because this is for me a business. This is your home, so I understand that's the emotional take to it. So I can take that, translate it to what they need to hear, and then when I get it back from them, I got to turn on that emotional state back here and make sure that I deliver to you in a way that it's easily digestible. And sometimes when you have your older clientele or anybody really, but when you have these older clientele, they're like, well, we were meant to believe that we can trust them, this is a business transaction for them. All right, for me and you, this is, I understand your plight, and I want to help you with everything that I can, but I got to make sure that I turn that emotional mentality off, and now I'm going to war for you. I'm going to be there, your advocate, the entire step of the way. You want to call me at 2 o'clock in the morning because something just happened in your home, you can call. I would love for you to keep it between 9 to 5, but we all know that's not when the emergency happens.
Right.
It's usually at 5:01, 6:01, that Christmas day. Those are those days that you need to be there. And sometimes they just need to be hooked up. I'm not the fireman. I can't go put out the fire itself. But what I can do is I can hook you up with that vendor that'll come in there and do the restoration, that contractor that'll come out there, and and I could just refer you to them. You pick your own. I'll refer you to some guys that I know do well, and you make your choice. But my job is ultimately to provide you with all your options.
Right. And how do they get to you to find out what their options are?
631-506-5596.
And what's your email address?
It's going to be AdjusterProsClaims.com.
AdjusterPro Claims? Or is it Chris?
Yeah, Chris.
Website.
Yeah, my name is Chris.
There it is. Chris at AdjusterProsClaims.com.
Yes.
And check them out online at AdjusterProsClaims.com. If you have any questions, check out reviews. Always say to do so, and try them out. If you have a question on your claim, it's no cost to get a valuation of your policy. And as always, thank you for checking out our show. Hans, thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you guys next week. See you.